let's just have fun. Our first new comedian. He's a comedian now, not a student. Steve Siegel. Come on, get the hand in here. Steve Siegel, the new comedian.
I'm Steve Siegel, and I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. It's my first time, so please be gentle. I'm an attorney, 38 years, and started off as a criminal attorney and a divorce attorney. And in my mind at the time, coming right out of law school, I thought that that would be the times when people would need you most. I got out of it pretty quickly. I couldn't deal with the viciousness, the vile, the misery, the desire to hurt each other, so I now only do criminal work. The theme of tonight is going to be death, divorce, and criminal justice. When I do summations, I hold on cards, so please don't hold it against me if it just sparks my memory as to what I have to say next. Very professional. My first murder trial, I probably started murder defense too soon, but I was anxious. I was 28. We tried the case, and I thought I did a fairly decent job, but it didn't go exactly as planned, and it went sideways, and he lost. And he turned to me at that point when the jury came back, and, would you face the jury, and the full person tell the defendant your findings, and he was found guilty. And he took a step back like this, and the guard started to put his handcuffs behind him, and he looked at me and he said, well, where are we going now? What are we doing? And I said, don't worry about it, we're going up an appeal. There's been a lot of appellate issues, and you don't worry about it. We went up on appeal, and unfortunately we didn't win that one either. At that point he said, well, what are we going to do now? And I said, well, I don't know, I'm going to lunch. He's so needy. So now we come about 6 weeks later because probation has to evaluate what type of sentence he should get. He was promised 25 years to life, which was the maximum sentence back then, and still is for murder. And the judge said to him, well, it's going to be the sentence of this court that you serve in a maximum penitentiary for 20 years to life. Again, the defendant steps back and he says, Judge, I can't do that much time. And the judge says, well, you know what, just do as much as you can. At which point, imagine this is my first murder trial. At this point, the defendant loses it. And he says, you know, Judge, blow me. And the judge says, application denied. Helping. I'm recently divorced, finally, 6 years. World War II was 4. You can figure it out. And this isn't a math class, but it's fairly simple. I hired the most vicious attorney I could find, having been in the business for some 30 years. And he did really well for me. I kept the kidney and my baseball cap. It was worth every penny. I always heard that marriage was an institution. It's the institution of marriage. What they didn't tell me is, and they should have told me, that it's a correctional institution. I learned the first night of the honeymoon that I don't brush my teeth long enough. That was the first correction. There would be more. Engagement was not a picnic even. I should have known right then and there about engagement, and as a prelude to marriage, not just marriage, but marriage to this particular woman. When we were furnishing her apartment, and there was some very fancy bed showroom. You don't think you'd find it at Serta or any of those. It was Joseph E. Rogers Bedding, and I asked for the most expensive bed, and they showed me exactly where it was, and it had all kinds of headrest, and it was a beautiful bed. And the salesperson said, well, this bed is $5,000. And my wife said, $5,000? Are you out of your mind? $5,000 for a bed? Forget about it. That's when I had to correct the first correction, maybe the last correction. I said, honey, to you it's a bed. To me it's my workbench. So I was asked to leave the house. It's hard to imagine somebody being as funny as me to be asked to leave, but I was asked to leave the house, and I left. And I was lucky enough to find a relationship, a romantic relationship, fairly soon thereafter. And the problem was I had been dating for 10 years, my wife, and I had been married for 17 years. And I was still thinking I was 1983, where there was the 4-date rule. I assume everybody knows what a 4-date rule is, but by the 3rd date, the woman thought I was gay, which was okay because she wanted me to go shopping with her the next day. In any event, I decided, well, this is the night. And after some petting and kissing, she jumped up out of bed. And I'm telling you, she jumped out of bed, her heels were on the bed. And she announces loud enough, thank God it was a freestanding apartment, she says, you could do anything you want to me. I only knew 2 things, crying and begging. I got a little bit better. We're up to number 8. This is very distracting and it must look like a doofus. Okay, so I lost a lot of money in this business. I'm told it happens. When it happens to you, it's not particularly pleasant, but I lost a lot of money. And for some of the people who are older, you might notice that young people come up with expressions out of nowhere. Somebody in some basement came up with true that, or my bad, or KK instead of OK on the... I mean, I don't know how that benefits anybody to skip that extra O, but it does. In any event, I decided that in order to make back the money that I've lost, I would come up with my own expression. So after a lot of thought, a lot of experimentation, I came up with the term monkey balls. Now, if you want to do me a favor, you'll take it from here and let me put it in context. If you hit your thumb with a hammer, you say, monkey balls. If you're waiting for the bus and you just get to the bus stop and it takes off, you look at somebody next to you and say, monkey balls. Now that better pick up this whole thing. I've spent a lot of time on it. And if not, I got 3,000 t-shirts in the basement. And the prices are dropping faster than the NASDAQ. This is my closer. Thanks for your patience. Okay, I gotta tell you this. Monkey balls. Thank you. You know, when you live out your life, and the final act of your life is burial, and you would think that a cemetery, that's where you're going to be honest. That's where your tombstone is going to be honest. There's no more playing around and no more faking. What I don't like is how can there be so many perfect, beloved, loving, dedicated people underground and so many scumbags above ground. I don't understand it. So I think with regard to the tombstones, there should be some grammar. And parenthesis is really what I'm talking about. So when you see somebody with a tombstone that says, loving husband, it should be parenthesis, critical. When you see beloved father, parenthesis, controlling. When you see loving son, parenthesis, never calls. and great friend, an alcoholic. Thank you all for taking the time.